Right, and in a few moments time we will be getting underway. Hello everyone, welcome to another ALR stream. Today we are going to be doing Austria round 4, and this is going to be tier 3. And hopefully we can have very good racing here. It's a very nice track, 36 laps around here. Um, it's a very technical circuit followed by multiple straights as well as sector 3, which is the tight twisty section of the circuit. So you'll need a setup that has a good balance of both. But it'll be interesting to see which driver takes a good position here. Hello Said, how you doing? I think in a few moments time we'll be getting underway anyways, so hopefully not too much of a wait now. Alright, well, while we have this time, I think the best thing to do would be to go through quickly with the standings in Tier 3. So, leading the championship, we have Yusuf, who is currently in the lead with 65 points, which is 32 points ahead of the second runner, who is J-Ray, followed by Jack Kings, Bouma, Igor, Will, Benji, Sam, Said, and Luke, and that would round off your top 10 for Tier 3 so far. Constructors wise, Ferrari are leading the championship as well with 42 points, followed by AlphaTauri, Williams, Alpine, Haas, Alfa Romeo, Aston Martin, McLaren, Red Bull, and Mercedes. So a lot of don't doubt there. I don't think there's gonna obviously not gonna be any championship leader change, but J Ray would desperately be needing a very good performance here to catch up to Yusuf, who has clearly been on an absolute tear recently on this in this new game as well. Oh, I mean I do have the commentator role, Jack, and kind of like a backup commentator in case someone can't make it. But it's nice to see you in the chat as well. Buenos dias. Big up Williams Gotifi for the win. Facts. There's anything that's absolute in this planet. It's that. But yes, summing up the championship standings, clearly Yusuf is on an absolute tear. Jerry is going to need to definitely pick up the pace, or, either that or Yusuf's going to have an absolutely horrible race. Either way, we have some very exciting racing planned for today, and I'm sure that we will get some great battles to view up and down the entire circuit. Aman, want to practice T1 dive bombs tomorrow. What day is it tomorrow? It should be... By tomorrow, do you mean a Friday? Or do you mean a Saturday? Is Millsy not racing? I'd have to check the availability for you, so let me quickly take a look. So according to the availability, no, apparently not. Adam will not be racing today. Oh, Friday? Yeah, absolutely. Then I should be able to, because I do have to go somewhere on a Saturday, so unfortunately, if I'm not around, I won't be able to join you, but Friday I will be available. Right, I'm not exactly too sure how many more people we are waiting for, but we should be getting underway pretty soon, roughly. I think the lobby's almost filled up now. Despite having a massive championship lead, the one that Yusuf does, obviously, there is still, well, obviously it goes to show that there is still tons of time left in the season for anything to happen. But what I find interesting is that the battle from P2 maybe all the way down to P, what is it, 6, P7 or 8 arguably, is still very, very close. Seeing as how 33 points is there for P2 with J-Ray, and 15 points go to Sam, who is currently sitting in P8. So obviously the race isn't over yet. Actually, you know what? Technically the points go all the way down to P10 with Luke sitting at 9, because if he gets a win and hypothetically nobody gets any points ahead of him, he would have P2. But overall, here we go. Short qualifying here at Austria. It is a circuit which does tend to have wet tracks as well. So we will see if it rains or not. We should be in for some fantastic racing today. I apologize for my creaky chair. Right then, here we are for qualifying here at Austria. Just gonna quickly turn on some data really quickly so that we can be able to not have to do this while we are going on, while we are doing our, what's it called, spectating. Right, keeping an eye out to see who comes out of the pits first. And looks like there's some activity going on at, I believe that is the Alfa Romeo garage, as someone is beginning to head out now. Oh, and it is Instinct. Lovely. Ardio will spin on his final flying lap. You heard it here first. Alright, well, we're taking all bets in here, guys. Call your shots in now. Who do you think is going to be spinning out first? Who won't? Actually, the main question I have for you all today is because obviously Austria from last game, if we all remember, was very, very slippery. Which they have made it better, definitely. But what is the predictions? How many safety cars are we looking for maybe this race? As well, I think just right aboard with Instinct, as he seems to be the first one out of the pits. And we will be sitting on aboard his flying lap and seeing how he does. A bunch of other people have come out on their hot laps as well, as we can see by the data as well. Alright, here we go, coming across the line. We are going to be riding on board with Instinct as he goes across his on his hot lap, coming into turn 1. Very, very sticky corner as he misses the apex, but no worries, he's just only setting a banker here. Coming down the long, long straight, which also is a turn, but, you know, we neglige that essentially. It's kind of pointless. Going into the very tough right-hander that's leading uphill as well. Very easy to spin out there if you're too quick on the traction. Being very closely followed behind by one of the Alpines as well. The main question is who would be causing the safety cars first. That is actually a very good point. But coming across to the tight, twisty section, which is sector 3 of the track. You see now this part of the track is very, very crucial because there's so much time to be gained here. Only 2 more corners to go, still being heavily followed by that Alpine. Goes very, very wide, and oh, there's maybe a little touch there and a little bit of a collision. That is definitely going to be a steward reports, as it's between Avinash and Instinct. Very, very unfortunate there. They probably should have left each other a bit more room, but Goes to show you that they don't, as El Truco sets a 106.2, a very fast time, followed in the other Alfa Romeo. We're going to be seeing on board now with who else is going. Sam goes with a 105.7, being the first person in the session to go into a 105.7 as well. With Yusuf as his Ferrari teammate also going a 105.7, only a few thousandths, and bang, average Seb drove straight into the gravel. Right, let's see. As we come across with Reaper setting his final sector times, I believe. Seems a very, very slow time. I don't know if he maybe had made a mistake there or what was going on, but regardless, we will stay on board with him and see as he sets a 1:014. So no point commenting on that, as Jerry and Jags also go faster than Sam, setting a 105.7 and a 105.5. That is a fantastically fast time. Wow. So already we can see a bunch of people entering the 105s. It'd be interesting to see how everyone goes about with this, as Haida now we go on board with gets a bit of traffic as with the Ferrari going into the pits, but he might have just been on a out lap. Let's see on board here. He only has 0.8 laps of fuel. I'm not too sure if that will be enough. Going into turn 1, riding that curb all the way. Going down the long straight. I'm not too sure if he'll have enough fuel to complete this lap, but you never know. Coming through that uphill braking section and straight down. Let's see what he sets in his sector 2. Probably 2 though. Yeah, I think there's a very big chance that turn 1, turn 2, at turn 1 in lap 1 would probably yield a safety car, because that's just the most commonplace. As Haida is down by 1.1 seconds on his time, so nothing special there. Right, and we stay on board with Said, who I don't believe is pushing either. Pretty sure he has invalidated his lap time, so nothing special there. So there's your first run in Q in qualifying. And we have J-Ray sitting on top of Jag Kings, followed by Sam, Yusuf, and the, I guess, his naked champion. His El Truco now comes out on another, is on his out lap. Hello Ardio, hope you're doing well. So we still have the P1 all the way drop down to P5, roughly separated by almost 2/10. So this could really go either way. It's a very, very tight qualifying that we're seeing here. I think we'll sit on board with who is more ahead. Right, Christ is ahead of everyone else by the looks of it. As Said now goes for another run, but we will most likely be sitting on board with El Truco for this one. Alright, coming across the final line, final corner, going across the line. He's now going to be starting his hot lap. We'll be sitting on board with this, going into turn 1. A very difficult corner to get right, but he seems to have nailed that absolutely perfectly. That looked beautiful from our angle. Coming down the long straight as well, which is a park corner, park straight. Up by a little bit, only by 600ths. We'll see if he can find a bit more time somewhere else. DRS wide open, going into the downwards braking section of this corner. I've seen a lot of people struggle with traction on this corner as well, though. Personally, don't really struggle there, but I've seen a lot of people do it, and I can kind of imagine why. But going down into Sector 2, how much up is he by? Only still by 6100ths. Not much of an improvement there. He's going to need a lot more in his Sector 3 to maybe get P1 in this situation, or provisional pole. Let's see what he goes out with. So coming across the final turn, going across the line, Avinash sets a 105.4, and El Truco sets a He doesn't improve. Okay, well, that is unfortunate, as now we can go to... Who else is there? As Yusuf comes across the line as well. What is he going to set? He sets a 105.4, just barely gets below Avinash and secures P2. As Avinash with a 105.4 secures provisional pole. That is a very nice lap from him indeed. I apologize, there's so many cars out on track. Almost everyone other than Grayson is out. Oh, and there it is. That is what I was talking about. It is so easy to lose traction going into that upper turner, into that top right turn. It's so easy to just spin out and bottom out the car. Regardless, I don't think he's suffered too badly. They're riding on board with Christ, but I think he's coming into the pits. Let's see, who else is there? Oh, and as Yusuf has also seemingly invalidated his lap, but oh, he's going into the pits as well. Right, so after our second run in quali, Haida, I didn't even notice, set a 105.3. Almost a complete 10th faster than Avinash. Wow! It becomes very difficult to follow all these cars around considering who is on a push lap and who isn't. But regardless, Haida with a blistering lap time as well. Very impressive. As it says, Jags is also on a hot lap, so seeing as how he's going across the line, we'll stay on board with him. Going into turn 1, decent exit, could have been better, but there's still plenty of time to be made up in the rest of the circuit. And Jags goes into the uphill braking section, and oh, gets stuck on the curb. That is not what you want to do. That is very unfortunate there. Yeah, you have to be careful in that section, otherwise you will just completely lose the car. I guess Zab is also not pushing. We'll check out with RDO. Nope, no pushing either, followed by Will, who might be on a hot lap. Unless this is his in-lap as well, but I think he might be okay. Let's take a look. Coming across the line, how does he do? DRS wide open, and he sets a 106.002, so barely missing out on the 105 marks. A very close time. Alright, and a bunch of other people are now coming out for another run. Just want to take a quick look at our telemetry data as well, which is absolutely amazing. It helps out a lot. Right, so let's see here. I think Avinash is, oh, he's already started his hot lap, I believe, so we'll sit on board with Avinash right now, as he's the first out of the top 5, top 6 to really start his hot lap, so here we go. Uphill braking. Seems to have gone on the traction very nicely there, so should be making up time. And as he comes towards the Type 2 section, as we have a Haas that has... Oh, I let him through. Thought he'd spun out completely. He is down, but however, Avinash is down by almost 800. Not too sure if he'll be able to improve unless he has some massive time he can gain through Sector 3. We'll see about that. Oh, and I believe he's invalidated his lap time. So that would do it. That will be no improvement as we sit on board with Yusuf now, who is also on his hot lap. I believe so. Yeah, okay. Oh, as he sets a purple sector 2 as well. Yusuf very much pushing this lap. No invalidation into the final corner. As J-Ray sets a 105.2, but Yusuf coming across the line sets a 105.2.202. So there you have it. Both P1 and P2 in the championship fighting it out for P1 here at Austria as well. Very, very tight qualifying as we're getting here, as most of the people have now begun to enter your 105 ranges or mid 105. So let's find someone else to ride on board with. I believe, yes, Jags is also on an outlap, is on his hot lap. As we have yellow flags. The first sector through sector 2. I believe it was the McLaren that ran wide. It took a bit of time for that Aston Martin to get by, but I'm glad he did. Going through sector 2 right now, the tight twisty sections. How well will Jags do? He is currently almost 3/10 down, a bit more than 3/10 down on as he goes very wide and nearly loses the car but darts straight into the pits instead. That was a very unorthodox way of calling it a day, but alright, we take those regardless. Very close to invalidating there. That's the tough part about the circuit as well, as Haida comes now into the pits. We will try to find someone and see who we can ride on board with, as Haida has come out of the... Haida's going into the pits, my bad. Everyone going very, very slowly. Still trying to see who could be on an outlap and who couldn't. As we check out Bouma's lap as well. He is currently 3/10 faster than his previous time as well, so there is definitely a lot of improvement there. How will he improve through the final section as well? Let's take a look here. Final 2 corners. Gotta keep it clean, not invalidate. And as Bouma comes across the line, he sets a 105.3 and sets himself comfortably into P4, almost a 10th faster than P5. That was a brilliant lap from Bouma as well. We'll keep trying to find more people to ride on board with as well. As I believe Saab just set a purple sector 1, which I guess, I mean, is not much considering it's one corner and then the straight, but regardless, that is very impressive. So I guess we'll ride on board with him and see how the rest of his lap goes. I'd also want to know a weather update. If anyone has any knowledge of that, that would be greatly appreciated as well. Like, is it going to rain during the race or anything? So as we watch Zab coming across the final 2 corners, what time is he going to set? As he comes across the line, a bit on the grass, goes into the 105.4, so not much of an improvement there. And Christ also retires from the session. Well, that was not on track. No, that is a very annoying sound, that over-revving engine. Right. And as Yusuf now, who is on provisional pole, will begin his flying lap. Let's see how he does. J-Ray has also been retired from the session. So I guess the contest is really between him and Haida now. But we'll see. Yusuf going into sector 2 right now. We'll have to see how much he's up by the end of it. Haida also on his push lap, I believe. Both drivers very close to each other, as a matter of fact, even on track. Right, and with that, time for qualifying has ended, so everyone who is on a flying lap will just need to finish their flying lap, as Bouma won't be going faster. Yusuf sets a purple sector 2, however. What time is he going to set? As Jags beats out J-Ray and sets out a 105.2, going just a bit faster, getting P2, but Yusuf coming across the line does not improve, but that will most likely give him pole position anyways. As we sit on board with Avinash, who is coming into the final corner of the circuit. Let's see what time he can set on his final run, as he does not improve by 2/10. How unfortunate. We ride on board with Said, who has invalidated his lap. Right. So with that, your qualifying is complete, and the grid will be shaping up to be formed with Yusuf starting on pole position, followed by Jags, J-Ray, Haida, Bouma, Sam, Christ, Avinash, Zab, and Nice Face Dude Heel. And that would be your top 10 for the grid. That was a very, very close. That was a very, very interesting quality. I loved how everyone was very, very close to each other. It was that almost 2/10 separating P1 and P5 or P6. And there you have it. Yeah, P1, P2, P1 and P3 all the way separated by almost with less than a tenth. Just goes to show you how many little areas or rooms of mistake there are on the circuit. So credit to the drivers there for making it such an interesting qualifying. Going down the rest of the grid, we can all take a look at the back of the grid. We got Instinct and Bang Average Seb. It should be shaping out to be a very good race, I think. Right, and here we go. In just a little while now, the race will be getting underway. We shall see how it goes. Run down to turn 1 is not that long, however, it is a very, very narrow corner. So we will have to be very, very careful about if there's any spins or incidents on that corner per se. I think I'm going to call that there's going to be at least 2 safety cars during this race. One definitely lap 1 in my opinion, but, you know, don't want to put any commentator's curse on that yet. Right. Just want to see if there is, so there is a formation lap, yes. Alright, so here we are on board with the formation lap. This is the one lap before the lights go out and it's green flags. So obviously Yusuf is starting on pole position, the championship leader as well. Will he be able to keep that position into turn 1? We shall see. I just hope that there is a bunch of clean driving today, because obviously, even though this circuit is quick and there is 2 very nice DRS zones, the corners that lead after them are very difficult to overtake on sometimes, as we've seen with Lewis Hamilton and Alex Albon at the end of this straight. And not even going to get started on the amount of times Charles Leclerc has been induced in an incident going into the long straight following turn 1. But regardless, we should be in for some good racing today, assuming nothing dramatic happens. It's car number 54 rounds about sector 2. Here, there's quite a gap right now created between the Haas of P10 and the Aston Martin in P11. So I want to make sure that there wasn't any incident or anything. Yeah, there's just a massive gap there. We'll come back on board with Yusuf and see how his race start goes. Right, and as Yusuf lines up on the grid, And as everyone else comes around and people get disqualified. And even now, we just had the Alfa Romeo of Instinct come across the final corner. But in the end, they're all here. They're all almost lined up. Almost. Yep. Okay. Well, there we go. Right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are at Austria. It's 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And it's lights out and away we go. Quite a big hang there over there for a second. But as we see, Jags has gotten a very good run going into turn 1 as he overtakes Yusuf going there into there. But Yusuf fighting right back deep onto the brakes. And as somebody goes wide, I believe that was the Alpine or the Haas of Will the Gamer. Yusuf having a good run down after turn 1, creating a bit of a gap between him and J-Ray. But as we see over here, Bouma right on everyone's tail, only 4/10 behind P2 at the moment. We'll see there's incidents up and down the circuit as Reaper has managed to shoot himself back up into P7 with an incredible launch as well from the line as he started near the back of the grid. Going on board right now with Bouma, who is only 0.3 tenths down behind J-Ray, with Haida 3/10 behind him as well. Oh, and Haida getting very close to Bouma. You do not want to go overtake going into that corner, but I've seen people do it. Surprisingly, no safety cars or no retirees after turn 1, which is, or almost the end of lap 1, which is very surprising and very nice to see. Thank God for that. And as Yusuf crosses the line, he will be leading the rest of the pack, with J-Ray already having a 1.3 second gap to P2. And as we ride on board with Bouma a little bit more, followed by Haida, looking up and down the grid. Oh, and as there has been an incident as Grayson has gone out. What happened? And oh, there is a massive front wing on that track. And just as I switch it over, Haida and Bouma are now fighting down for P3. Don't give me this camera angle. I want to see this. Yes. Bouma still on the outside, but then Haida covers him off. And Haida manages to get P3 right ahead of Bouma. We're still seeing not exactly too many close fights. Everyone's creating a bit of a gap between themselves, as Yusuf is beginning to run away with the lead of this race with a 1.6 second gap now. It was 1.3 almost by the start of it. Looking up and down the grid, we'll take a look. As everyone is almost separated by a second amongst each other than that P8, P9, and P10 group, which is drifting off from each other. But we can ride on board with Avinash as well, who's only 4/10 behind Bouma. Lap 3, so DRS has been activated. Will that be enough to make a move? Apparently not this straight, as everyone is now beginning to enter a DRS straight of their own, a DRS train of their own. So we still have some incidents going on at the back of the grid. Not entirely too sure what's going on over there. We can go take a look as Will the Gamer is fighting with his teammate, going side by side with him. Oh, this should be interesting. How will they deal with this? Oh, and as Will gets ahead of his teammate. And RDO gets overtaken. RDO overtakes Yusuf, and Yusuf also gets overtaken by El Truco going into one of the final 2 corners. Is there a spin? Who's that on track? Is that... oh, that's Instinct. Okay. So we see those gaps now beginning to form between the drivers. Almost a 2-second gap between P8 and P7. And as Instinct has spun again, he is not having a great time on those tires. Speaking of tires, I will enable that so we can see what everyone is on. So only El Truco is running on the hards, followed by Instinct and Grayson, who are on the softs. Everyone else on the mediums. Going a bit up the grid, we have Haida and Bouma, Avinash and Zab all closely following behind each other, as Reaper now enters P6 with a fantastic race start. If there was a race replay option, I would definitely want to see how Reaper made up all those positions so quickly. But as we carry on, and wait, no, that was that, who was that spun out? Where did Yusuf go? Did Yusuf have an incident while we were watching everything else? Yusuf is now down into P10, with J-Ray now taking the lead of the race. So that means that there isn't even much of a gap to P10 now. And as Haida, with DRS wide open, starts trying to catch J-Ray. Oh, that's not good. And gets the position done, but J-Ray keeping that inside line. Will he be able to get him back? No, he won't. Haida now takes over the lead of the race. Oh, wow. We have some very tight-knit racing going on over here, as now Bouma riding on top of J-Ray as well. Gonna hopefully try to get him right back on the straight again. As Yusuf, I'm not too sure when, spun out and maybe had an incident of some sorts and has dropped all the way down to P10. This is ideal for J-Ray as well. We'll watch on board with Bouma. Is he going to be able to... Actually, we're right on board with J-Ray. Is he going to be able to go into turn 1? No, he won't. But coming into the second straight, how will he deal with this? DRS wide open. It's a very long straight, and it's very easy to catch up to the car ahead. Going into the uphill braking section, and there is no moves done there. Downhill we go. DRS once again wide open for that extra top speed. Haida has no DRS, but he will most likely be burning all his overtake for this. And once again defends the position from J-Ray. So we sit another lap unless there's another incident. As Yusuf has another incident, or gets overtaken by Sam. As the Ferraris decide to switch places, whether that was team orders or not, we will have to see later on. But going back to the fight at the top of the grid, where there's only a 2/10 gap between the two drivers who are in for the fight of the lead, as that drops down to 5/10. Wow. DRS wide open once again going into turn 1, but no good doing there. How long will it take J-Ray to be behind Haida? Or will it be done this lap as he looks a lot closer, goes down onto the inside, heading up the hill, brakes a bit later, and oh, nobody gets pushed as wide, but they're still side by side. But it seems like Haida got a much better exit going into that corner and managed to steal the DRS off of J-Ray. So I don't think there will be any move doing there. As Bouma sends it very, very closely down the inside as well. That was a very, very late lunge. Thankfully, no incidents come out of it. But as we see, the battle for the lead is stretching down all the way into P5, as every one of those top 5 drivers, you can just view how close they are to each other on track. One mistake from either one of them and they'll drop down. Oh, as J-Ray goes very wide going out of turn 1. I don't think he'll be able to make the move down into here. However, if he can get close enough going into the second DRS straight, he might just be able to make something work out for himself. We shall see, as now Bouma gets all involved and gets a very nice run over J-Ray and manages to overtake him going into that corner. However, J-Ray is going to be fighting that position right back, and we're going to see 2 cars going side by side into this corner. And with Bouma on the inside line, will he be able to get the position? No, they are still side by side, and then J-Ray back again with the inside line going into that corner will also take once again the lead will take back his P2 position. So brilliant racing up and down the field. And while this battle unfolds, we also see Avinash is also very, very closely following behind everyone, along with Zab, waiting for his exact moment to strike. As we look down the rest of the grid, there is still big gaps forming between everyone else, relatively. As Reaper now getting dropped by P5, however RDO catching him up, or well losing time in that one moment, but generally still within a half a second gap. I do want to see this from Avinash's perspective as well. How would it look from his end? And as we see Bouma once again trying to catch up with J-Ray, as Haida took advantage of the little battle that they had and made a little bit of a gap. However, with DRS you can only expect that to come down so quickly. As we get two multiple 3-second time penalties, or multiple time penalties all in just one go. Right, let's look down a little bit of the rest of. We'll look down a bit and look at the rest of the grid as RDO is also closing in on Reaper. Will he be able to get him this straight? I'm keeping my eyes on the telemetry data on the top left as well to make sure that if I see anyone too closing in massively, and we will quickly jump to that fight at the top of the lead, at the top of the standings right now. But DRS wide open, RDO trying to catch up with Reaper. Will he be able to do it, or will he be too far back? Reaper goes defensive. RDO breaks a bit later, but no, outbreaks himself and will need to recorrect. And as I say that, Bouma and J-Ray once again battling for P2. Oh my dear. So now J-Ray once again on the outside, but then Bouma also on the inside. But now will he be able to complete the move? No, he won't, as J-Ray still sticks his nose down the inside. But Bouma around the outside going into that corner manages to get P2. Now with that, will he be able to break away from J-Ray? Obviously now without DRS going into this next straight, as Haida is now beginning to pull away and taking advantage of the fact that the cars behind him are beginning to fight. So of course, without DRS, Bouma will have to fight a lot harder to defend these four drivers behind him. How will he cope? His area with DRS wide open still won't be able to do much on this straight. However, he gets a much better traction out of that corner as compared to J-Ray. But Avinash now getting a bit hungry as well, looking at that potential position between the two. And is there an incident? Yes, the Naked Champion has now spun out, going into the uphill section of that circuit. And because of the fighting between P2 and P3, the gap to P1 has now become 1.2 seconds, so obviously Haida is very much enjoying this. He would recommend that they keep fighting as much as they possibly could. As we have another yellow flag. I believe that's Instinct. Yeah. And it seems like everyone other than P2 to P5 is now within almost a second of a gap with each other. Obviously Reaper and RDO have finally ended up switching places as RDO manages to overtake Reaper. And over here, as we can see, as Bouma is now beginning to actually drop J-Ray as well. Might have been a bit too held up behind the AlphaTauri. So after finally overtaking him, he's now really stretching those legs. And that just means that Avinash and Zab will now have a better chance to overtake J-Ray, assuming Bouma can drop him out of his DRS. As we see, Sam is also beginning to catch Reaper. Beginning to catch Reaper massively, as a matter of fact. So we wonder if Reaper has some sort of damage or anything. Let me take a look. No, nothing that I see as of right now. However, with DRS wide open, will Sam be able to get Reaper into the straight? Still too far back. Oh, as he brakes very, very deep going into that corner. Not too sure how that would deal with his traction, but that would not give him a great opportunity going down this long straight, going down the downhill section of the circuit. And as that battle continues, we can also ride on board with Zab, who is now kind of getting impatient sitting behind Avinash and would like to make it a P3, P4 for the AlphaTauris. Oh, what's going on over here? And they're side by side with each other, but Reaper concedes the position, thinks better of it. Oh, and as Reaper spins out, Reaper has a complete spin going on the inside line despite making a bit of room for them, and will now be heading into the pits. That is very unfortunate. Sam now gets the position. It was very, very rough. Oh, and as Zab is now beginning to close it. Oh, nearly breaks off his front wing as well. Sector 123, what is that? Who has made a mistake that has costed us a safety car? Let me take a look. And it is a full-fledged safety car, as a matter of fact. RDO gets a 5-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. And now this will lead to some interesting strategy decisions as Haida now looks to be coming into the pits. But who will follow behind him? I'm assuming everyone will. I'd be very, very surprised if nobody pits this lap. Seems like, yep, everyone from P1 to P5, P6, P7, yep, everyone coming into the pits. Switching onto those hard compound tires. But it'll be interesting to see how traffic holds up everyone here, or if anyone at all who will make a good position out of this. As El Truco actually chooses not to pit, being on the hard tires already, 14 lap old. And as Will the Gamer also chooses not to pit on 14 lap old mediums. I'm not too sure about this questionable decision here. 14 lap old mediums and you decide not to pit? For what reason? Regardless, that does not seem like the right strategy call for the moment, as a bunch of people have moved on to the soft compound tires as well. And looking at the field, we see El Truco obviously there, ahead of Bouma and J-Ray, who has not pitted yet, so Bouma being a net P2 and J-Ray being the net P3 at the moment. Overtook a lapped car who was spun out. Oh, that is very unfortunate. What was pole time? I believe it was a 105.2, if I'm correct. I think it was a very, very low 105.2 was the pole time around here. So it was a blisteringly fast lap, that's for sure. Yeah, 105.2. As Will the Gamer finally decides to pit with his 15 lap old mediums and will drop down way to the back of the grid, or essentially the bottom of it. What do I think T2's pole time will be? I don't think it's really gonna be much faster. A 104.5. Wow. I personally don't think it's gonna be that much quicker. I'm gonna assume maybe a 104.7, a 104.6, but because I don't believe the gap between, you know, tier 3 and tier 2 is really that massive. Or it might be this season. I'm not exactly too sure on that lab data that was being presented. T1 was a 104.3. Joe did a 104.3. Okay. So wait, whoa. Okay. Huh. Then I guess I'm not too sure. If T1 was a 104.3, then I'm assuming Tier 2 would probably be a 104.8, 104.7, most likely. Because Tier 1 drivers are on another ridiculous level. Then P2 has a 104.6. Yeah, that seems more likely as well. Yeah. Okay. Alright, and as the safety car goes off, we see Haida now taking the lead, blasting away. El Truco obviously on the old set of hard tires, trying to follow behind him, but obviously he's not going to have as much traction as the people behind him, who may be on a bit of cold tires as well. We'll see how this goes. Haida still pushing ahead as El Truco begins to a bit drop Bouma. But that may just be because of Bouma's cold tires. We'll see as soon as they begin to heat up how he manages, if he manages to close the gap between them. As Sam manages to overtake as well. Looking at the bottom, actually, you know what? Yeah, let's watch this fight as Reaper and Presmo. I'm just gonna call him PR. As Reaper and PR, and oh, Reaper spins out. Loses traction on those tires and spins out. That is not what you want. That is very, very unfortunate for him. But we continue with the race, looking up and down the rest of the grid. Yusuf only 2 tenths behind his Ferrari teammate. Will there be team orders here at Ferrari? I highly doubt it. Is there another incident going into the bottom as RDO managed to get past Christ, who I believe has also spun out? We have tight battles going up and down the field right now. The whole pack is now bunched up together and all on essentially the same set of tires. But the interesting thing here would be to see around when everyone would be pitting. As we watch Zab and Sam, and oh, there's an incident as he bumps right into the side of Sam. Obviously, that's not what you want to see. I'm not too sure if Zab got away with damage there or not. But it doesn't seem like it. Doesn't look like Zab has sustained any damage from that incident. So obviously that's what I meant by it's a very difficult corner to overtake on sometimes because the person on the inside may not have the traction that he needed. So by using my brake brain, I would think I will be a 104.8 or 104.9. Hey man, I have absolutely no idea. I haven't even touched Austria for Tier 2 practice yet. Going up the grid as Bouma is right on the back of El Truco now with those tires more fired up than before. Obviously El Truco on the older set of hards, not going to hopefully make this too much easier. He's not going to make this any more difficult than it needs to be, but El Truco still fighting with Bouma. But obviously on the old worn set of tires does not get the traction that Bouma does. And gets overtaken and going into P2 goes Bouma, who's having a fantastic race so far. Now we will see how J-Ray closes the gap between El Truco as well and tries to get past him as well so he can't hold up his race. There's quite a lot of battles going on with RDO as well. Oh my heavens, what is this? There are 4 cars all bunched up together. And RDO sandwiched between 2 cars with penalties, or with all the cars with penalties as he goes into P13 as someone else makes an incident. I believe that is Instinct as well. I'm not too sure who is the I'm not too sure who that AI Aston Martin is, but regardless, I'm gonna assume that they're probably disconnected. As almost everyone now separated by almost a second from each other. As there is now another yellow flag as Grayson spins out. But he seems to be doing okay. Doesn't look like he has any damage. But as we go on board with RDO, who seems to be climbing up the field right now, going side by side with Bang Average Seb, and manages to not get the overtake done into the corner, but will he have better traction coming through it? Yes, he will. And RDO now goes into P12. Fighting from the back of the grid, obviously not after a great pit stop and everything. Trying to climb his way back into the points, which he's doing a fantastic job at. Yeah, I think it's there's just a bunch of yellow flags coming from that Alfa Romeo. And I believe that is, yeah, Instinct, of course. He's right on board with JRA for a little bit. 3/10 behind Bouma as he managed to get past the 15-lap old hards, which was by El Truco, who is now coming into the pits, hopefully to change those tires finally. And he's slowly closing the gap between Bouma and himself as well. .3 down going into the final two corners as we have another yellow flag in that section. I'm not even going to bother mentioning it anymore unless it's another car off track. DRS wide open, still not enough on this part of the circuit, but now on the longer straight, will JRA be able to close the gap and maybe overtake Bouma? Haida seems to be loving all of this. Haida loves the fact that everyone behind him is fighting as Zab overtakes Sam as well. Going into up there, and ooh, there seemed to be a little love tap from Sam behind him. I don't think he got any bit of damage from that. The JRA still not being able to overtake Bouma going into the downhill section either. As Grayson decides to retire in the pit. And Instinct is doing donuts. Yeah, that is 120% a report-worthy thing, because he's just going to cause like safety cars and stuff if he just keeps spinning out like this. This is ridiculous. It's a good thing I saw this when I did. But going back to the battles at hand and ignoring silly behavior on track. And Instinct is disqualified from the session. Perfect. As JRA now with DRS open goes side by side with Bouma going into the uphill braking section. Who will brake later? It seems to be equal. But coming out of that corner, obviously with the outside line, Bouma gets much better traction compared to JRA as he just begins to pull away massively. Avinash now looking at his opportunities as well, trying to close in the gap. As we see Jags also trying to make a move around Sam, but not good enough, unfortunately. Still following very, very closely behind the Ferrari as well as Sam. As both these Ferrari drivers seem to be moving back up the field, Yusuf obviously starting on pole position, but having some sort of incident mid-race, dropped down, and now has moved himself back up all the way into P6. And the two Ferraris seem to be carrying each other as Sam has had a really bad exit through there, and now Jags with DRS open. Will he be able to make this move? He's a lot closer and he is equal on the brakes, goes down on the inside and seems to be getting the move done. However, Sam will obviously not make it that easy with DRS open himself. Will he be trying to fight that position back? Yes, he will not actually. Decides to just tuck it in behind Jags and just concede the position. As El Truco sets the fastest lap of the race with a 107.5 on his mediums. But look at that gap between JRA and Bouma as well. Right behind him. It's come to the point in the race where everyone needs to be very, very careful with each other. Obviously, this is the last point you would want to make an incident happen. And surprisingly, we've only had one safety car so far, which is actually very impressive from the drivers. Still not good enough to maybe overtake Bouma on this lap. Oh, and as Avinash gets very close behind J-Ray as well, becoming impatient, he wants that podium position as much as the next person. As we look behind us, Zab and Yusuf now going side by side with each other. Zab on the inside line pushes Yusuf a bit wide, and Yusuf manages to does not manage to complete the move. Zab manages to defend it from the person who was on pole. This is also a very good fight here. I believe Jags is right behind them as well. Yes, he is. Oh, and as Yusuf gets a 3-second time penalty, that is not going to help his conditions either in his return or fight back to the front of the grid. I never liked that sound. But with DRS wide open and Zab sitting there with no DRS, will Yusuf be able to make the overtake going into this corner? Yes, he will. He sends it down the inside and gets a brilliant move done. Maybe pushes him a bit wide, but as Jags also gets the moves done and now battles side by side with Yusuf moving into P5, but manages to clear the gap. So I don't think Yusuf will be able to fight that position back and gets the move done. That was brilliant racing from Jags as well, waiting for his perfect time to strike, and moves into P5, apologies, with his teammate in P4. And this is exactly the position Jags wants to be in right now, considering two people behind him, both Ferraris, have penalties. So if he can push this as far as he can, and he's actually managing to drop Yusuf as well massively. Let's look a bit down the rest of the grid, see if there's any other fights going on over here, as Zab is also now beginning to try to fight back and trying to get back his positions that he lost, obviously, into that whole battle. Actually, scratch that. We'll go on board with J-Ray, who seems to be a lot closer to Bouma this lap. But it's just Bouma's traction through that corner is just so much better than J-Ray's. No matter what he does, the traction Bouma has just manages to make him pull away a lot faster. Is there a yellow flag in Sector 2? I'm pretty sure that's not Haida, so who was that? That was probably his teammate, Bang Average Seb. As we see here, Jerry closely following behind Bouma. Will he be close enough to make an overtake on this straight? No, he will not. However, he should try to line himself up nicely to get a good run, and he gets a very nice apex into that corner there. But despite having DRS open, okay, from that angle it looked like he absolutely sent it. But despite having DRS wide open, he still can't seem to catch Bouma, as Bouma gets, again, brilliant traction out of that corner. It just seems to be all working for Bouma at the moment, who's managing to keep J-Ray completely behind him at the moment. As we watch Will the Gamer, who's also very close on his teammate right behind him. Seem to be no team orders going on here at Haas. They're just battling each other out, which is, you know what, all respect to them, fair enough. As Reaper now also picks up a 3-second time penalty, as we have another yellow flag, and there's a Red Bull that went off. Oh dear. And I believe that was Reaper, yes. He had a brilliant start to his race as well, starting from near the back of the grid and then managing to shoot himself all the way up to, I believe, P6 at that moment. And then, of course, incident after incident, unfortunately, shooting him down the rest of the grid. And Jerry still not able to make too much of a dent to Bouma. But we will leave that fight be for a little bit, as as one of the Haas's has decided to spin out. Whether that was due to a collision with his teammate or for what reason, we don't know. as Said sets the fastest lap of the race with a 107.1. We can see the gaps are now beginning to spread out amongst each other. But this battle for P4 at the moment is continuing all the way down into P8 as well, with J-Ray and Bouma fighting for P2 consecutively lap after lap. And this massive DRS train not really helping anyone at all, as Haida gets a 3-second time penalty, our race leader. Oh, wait a minute, if that's a... Oh, so now this makes it very interesting. Where's the... I'm an idiot. Here it is. 3-second time penalty, which makes this very interesting for Bouma as well, because if Bouma can maintain this gap now, then your net winner will be Bouma. So his consistent pace of continuously being within 3 seconds of Haida has really paid off. And if Bouma can manage to keep J-Ray behind him, then this will be a win for Bouma. As we have another yellow flag, I believe that's one of the Aston Martins. There's a bunch of people are now beginning to rack up penalties as well, as Jags also getting a lot closer to his teammate as well. Will there be team orders here at Alpine, or will they just fight it out on track? We shall see. Oh, and he seems to be a lot faster than his teammate. Managed to make up so much time into that corner. Going down the straight, here we go, as with his DRS wide open, these teammates both seem to be fighting each other. Actually, no team orders here at Alpine, as Avinash manages to take the inside line and keeps the position ahead of Jags. But this will greatly help both the Ferrari drivers in P6 and P7, as this now just makes Jags a bit more vulnerable going into the next straight. And as we talk about that 3-second gap, we can see that Bouma has lost almost 7/10 to Haida in the course of one lap. So whatever Haida is doing probably saved up his ERS and now is fully unleashing it so he can let out that gap. Realizes that he needs to, it's do or die for him at this point. As we stay on this battle for P4 at the moment, with both the Ferraris following both the Alpines, followed by the AlphaTauri at the back as well. As Presmu's... Oh, what happened there? That seemed like a very risky move, as Will managed to go on the inside, and RDO, I believe, spun out? Yes, that was RDO spinning out, unfortunately, as they're going side by side going into this corner, turn 1. Still side by side, but Presmu manages to... I'm just going to call him Presmu, I don't know. As he manages to get a very nice overtake on him, going after turn 1, and Will not be able to fight that position back, as one of the Aston Martins has once again spun out. Sitting on board with Yusuf, they're still both following those Alpines very closely. Bouma still within that 3-second gap as well with Haida, and with 4 laps or 5 laps to go, it'll be very interesting how this race can turn out, because penalties can change the entire course of this race right now. And as I say that, Haida manages to break that 3-second gap to Bouma. And Bouma gets it right back. It's just back and forth with these guys today. As Jags still a bit closer on his teammate this time around, 3/10 behind him. Will he be able to make the overtake going into this corner once again? It doesn't seem like it, though he has braked a bit later, but that makes him a bit vulnerable to Yusuf behind him as well. This is what I want to see from Sam's point of view, as there's still no move done going into the down right section, as El Truco now gets another 3-second time penalty. It really is the battle between the Alpines and the Ferraris, the circuit. Right, and here we go again. Will Jags be able to overtake his teammate, or once again will this battle be making both of them vulnerable? There should be some team orders going on over here, considering that there's a decent amount of points on the table, and if they continue going around this way, is DRS automatically done? No. So you need to be within a second of the car ahead of you after the DRS is activation point. And you need to manually enable it. There is an option to automatically do it, but obviously we do it manually. As Jack still can't seem to get past his teammate. Yep, no worries. There's another yellow flag, and it's Haida! As Haida spun out. The race leader for this race has spun out and has come out in P8. And as we were watching that battle between everyone else, Haida seems to have lost the car and completely spun out. And that means that your current leader is now Bouma, who has 0 time penalties, and J-Ray right behind him as well. That must have been a surge in both of these drivers' bloods, because now they know that there's a race win on both their hands. And as we say that, we can see how close J-Ray is now beginning to get to Bouma. But of course, again, with that traction that we were talking about so much earlier, Bouma just manages to pull away that much faster. Again, nothing going into that corner, unfortunately. It was very unfortunate what happened there with Bouma. I mean, with Haida. And that too with only 2 more laps to go. El Truco picking up another time penalty as well. As Saeed comes into the pits. Alright, and with 1 lap left to go, we will be sitting on board with J-Ray for this final battle, as he is only 5/10 behind current race leader Bouma. DRS wide open. Both drivers will probably be using every last drop of ERS as they have, as Bouma's lights are now beginning to blink, which should be a good sign for J-Ray, but seeing as how Bouma always manages to get good traction out of here, will he be able to close the gap? We shall see. Disaster with 2 to go, absolutely, but there's still time. We can still have another incident happen, even though we'll see about that though. J-Ray now 7/10 behind Bouma, getting dropped by every corner. It doesn't seem like there's a good chance, unless Bouma makes a massive mistake. It doesn't look like J-Ray is going to be able to catch Bouma at the moment, who throughout this entire race has quite frankly been absolutely amazing. And coming across the final line, we will be going on board with Bouma as your race winner for Austria here in round 4 will be Bouma, followed by J-Ray, who will get a P2 position. Jags in the Alpine getting P3. Avinash, his teammate, getting P4. Zabs manages to move up into P5 due to both the penalties of the Ferrari drivers, who finished P6 and P7. Haida, who unfortunately who was leading most of the race as well, manages to unfortunately spin out with only 2 laps left to go and finishes a net P8. Your Presmu, I haven't gotten his name right even once, and I'm so sorry for that. Finishes P9 in the McLaren. Will P10 as the naked champ since the fastest lap of the race with a 106.4. RDO P11. Bang Average Seb in the Mercedes P12. El Truco finishes P13. Nice face dude who is I believe going backwards and resets the track. Lovely, which you are not allowed to do, good sir. Or not too sure actually if that was something else or not. Yeah, lapped cars can be very, very annoying to deal with. There is no doubt about that, RDO. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, there is your tier 3 round 4 of Austria. It was a fantastic race. Up and down the grid as well. We had a ton of battling going on, but in the end only one person can win, and that man is Bouma. which was a fantastic race all around. Jerry put up a great fight going up and down the grid as well. Felt like he was always behind Bouma, no matter when or whenever, wherever Bouma was, Jerry was always right behind him as well. So it was a fantastic race from both those drivers. It was unfortunate for both Haida and Yusuf. Both were essentially leading the races, but due to incidents of their own, managed to lose that positions and unfortunately drop down to the rest of the grid. Right, and your finishing positions, here they are. Obviously I've run through them already once, so I'm not going to do that again. But your fastest lap is by the Naked Champ, which is a 106.480. But yes, overall a fantastic race. That was great watching. Right, and with that, I think that is gonna be all from my end as well. We will be having tier 2, and I believe it's gonna be tier 4 happening this Sunday. So be sure to tune in for that. I don't know if I will be doing comms again for next week. I might, but we will see. But yes, other than that, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching and sticking with me through this commentary session as well. And I will hopefully talk to you all soon. And yes, I hope you all enjoyed the stream.